I think it is equally devastating for the number 88 junior motorsports team that Connor lost that second place result to Aric Almirola in the closing laps, because, I mean, Brandon, you mentioned this a little bit as well, I think, and Tanner, it was a really up and down turbulent season for Connor, not because of what was going on off the racetrack, or on the racetrack rather, but was what happened off of it with his injury at Talladega, having to sit out that week, and then obviously what happened in Victory Lane and Watkins Glen, having to start the race at Daytona and give up his car to Parker Kligerman. When Kyle Larson got in that 88 car, Kyle Larson won that race at Texas. When Parker Kligerman relieved Connor Zilisch at Daytona, got in that 88 car, Parker Kligerman parked it in Victory Lane and took that team to the winner's circle once again. That team fired on all cylinders beyond just who was in the driver's seat that year. Obviously, it was Connor for the vast majority of the year, but that team was far and away the best team this season. I don't think that can be argued. And they're not rewarded with a championship either. And I do want to ask you both about Aric Almirola. It is kind of a full circle moment for us here as well. Tanner, one of your first appearances on the show was after the spring Phoenix race. It was a little controversial how he picked up the win there, but Aric with another strong performance Saturday night. 20 years after he was a Joe Gibbs development driver, it would have been even more fitting, I think, if he had done it last year in car number 20. Now he's in car number 19. But either way, he does deliver a championship to Joe Gibbs through the owner's title. Tanner, what are your thoughts on the season that the number 19 team had, and specifically Aric Almirola closing the deal out Saturday night?
Yeah, my first appearance on this show was saying that Almirola drove Alex Bowman Deuteronomy deep at Phoenix in the spring race this year. So that was fun. Overall, though, I mean, Almirola had a very underrated playoffs, I think, for the races that he participated in. But I don't know. I think most of my memories of the 19 car when he aren't in it are of the 19 car mostly piloted by Justin Bonsignor, unfortunately usually sliding into the inside wall somewhere. And that it brings me no joy to say that, because I noted multiple times, whether it be at races I was actually attending or in, at my own home, I would be like, wow, Bonsignor, for a guy that, isn't used to driving these kinds of large ovals and such large cars without, the downforce that modifieds tend to have, he's running pretty well. And then, you'd see him wreck. With that said, he had a number of good runs taken away, it seemed like, for mistakes that weren't his own, which is rather unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I mean, the owner's championship is just as broken and stupid as the regular one. So, I mean, did the 19 team really deserve it compared to the 88 team? Probably not. But unfortunately, that's just what the record book is going to reflect, that they had a better season.
I'll be honest, I didn't care less about the owner's championship until Ben notified me of the owner's championship being important. And then I got a little more invested in it, honestly.
That is a hill I will die on. I think it does matter for many reasons in the sport. But yeah,
I'm just making that note, if not one more time here with Grid Encore, that it wasn't a concern to me before I somehow landed on this program. But Aric Almirola winning the owner's championship. I mean, it was good to see him get some coverage there with the CW and get to talk about it. But it's kind of like the afterthought on the weekend to me, honestly.
Yeah, well, I do think it matters to the teams, obviously, for payouts at the end of the year. And I think, I understand why it doesn't quite get as much coverage as the Constructors' Championship does in F1, because there's usually, especially in the Cup Series, there's usually not as much, there's usually much more, I should say, overlap between that and the drivers. But when you have a situation like you have in Xfinity, where there are part-time drivers and full-time teams and full-time cars, you do sometimes get split championship here. And I do just want to go through the driver roster real quick throughout the season. Aric Almirola doing about half the races, 17 in that car this year. Justin Bonsignor ran 7. Riley Herbst ran 4. So Riley Herbst obviously had a very difficult season on the Cup Series side of things, but I guess in some ways he's eligible for a championship ring this year. Jack Perkins ran 2 races in this car.
Oh, yeah.
Christopher Bell ran 1. Chase Briscoe ran 1. And Ty Gibbs ran 1. That was your lineup for number 19 driver roster in the Xfinity Series this year.
I do think it's like a really cool full circle moment for Almirola and Joe Gibbs Racing and like the Drive for Diversity program, that he won this title so many years later. But like, even still, he beat the 88 car, and he was the only guy to win in that car this year, if I'm not wrong. Like,
I don't know off the top of my head. I can see.
I'm pretty sure Bell fell out of Mexico with some sort of mechanical issue, and I'm almost certain none of the other guys won. So, yeah. Another hollow victory in the weekend, really.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to pull up the standings here, see how they're split. But yeah, Bell wasn't anywhere close. Briscoe, yeah, I mean they weren't even close to winning the races that they entered. Riley Herbst actually did finish 3rd in that Texas race. I don't know if I assume he was in the 19 for that. Yeah, so Riley came close. It was actually 5th at Sonoma as well. We were joking that was the Haley Deegan throwback because it was car number 19 with Monster sponsorship for Riley. But yeah, I believe that is correct. And I got to be honest with you, I there's part of me would like to see Aric full time. I think that it's kind of reminding me of where AJ Allmendinger was a couple of years ago. I mean, if you get to this point where you do win in the regular season, and then you're kind of seen as the team veteran, you're the guy that's going to go on this owner's championship charge for us. I see no reason to believe that Aric couldn't go out and compete for a driver's championship if he decided to do so. Obviously, I think he's very content to be spending more time with his family and be on a part-time schedule on Saturdays instead of Sundays at this point in his career. But it is a full circle moment for somebody as the guy that made the video on the Milwaukee race, who's watched that race probably a half dozen times in my life at least. And again, ironic that Denny Hamlin was involved in that story too, given what happened this weekend. It is a full circle moment in that sense. And again, it's another situation where I'll say don't hate the player, hate the game. There is absolutely no reason the 88 team shouldn't have won the championship this year on the owner side of things. But Aric Almirola delivered when it mattered most, made that pass, and got the owner's title for Joe Gibbs Racing. And so congratulations to them on that accomplishment.